Hi, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast today. We're a backstory podcast. I've been bringing you some of my favorite people, some people I think you really relate to in different ways. Some of them are well known, some are not as well known. But these are basically people that I think you should probably get to know in some ways. So today, many of you already know this. We have a lot of cross pollination of our followers. But I wanted to bring you a very special gentleman that I've been working with over quite a few years, and that is Jim Self. Jim, how you doing, buddy?
Steve, happy to be here with you as always.
Good. Wanted to mention also that Jim's with Mastering Alchemy, and you can find that at masteringalchemy.com. And we have also been doing this Parkbench project together, which has
Yeah.
been turned out really interesting. I love what we're able to do there. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to continue it that long, but I really love what we've been able to accomplish so far with this. This was your idea originally. Why don't you tell us about where this was going and what prompted all this?
Sure. In our work, we do a lot of work with the archangelics, the lords of light, the ascended masters. And one of the things they said in earlier on in about 2018, 19, that there will be four events that will occur that you're about to experience. And the first one was coronavirus. And coronavirus, in a way, was much more than a lot of people passing on. Coronavirus was all about disruption. And you had to interrupt the construct of the third dimensional game that we've been playing in, which was domination, power over, duality, etc., right, wrong, good, bad. And so that first event was extremely disruptive to how the economy and how life basically had been settled in for so many years. We're now at kind of the second event. And the second event is all about disrupting more so, on one hand, that vibration that people hold that basically says, I'm not okay, I don't deserve, I didn't do it right, it's my fault. All of the words like blame and guilt and abuse are all now coming to the surface to be let go of. So you're seeing two things happen. One is those that are in need to hunker down, to get the tribe, to basically get everything back in agreement, that's falling apart. And so the purpose of this is to begin to see this new light that's coming in, begin to create an entirely new realm. And the Parkbench project was exactly that. They said the architecture, the landscape, the environment of a new realm of consciousness, of beauty and well-being needs to be brought into attention. And so we started in 2020, and we went on for 33 different months working at building this new architecture. And then we paused, and they said, when this second event comes, it will be time to gather again to build the environment for people to just slip into and begin to recognize well-being. And that's where you and I are playing right now in this
Right.
Parkbench project.
That's been amazing too, because it really fits into our work as well. We've been approaching it from a slightly different aspect, of course, from being able to build something quite some years ago. We kept talking about the Sao, which was just a name we gave to the next higher realm. Overall, we've been calling this the fifth dimension, but the fifth dimension is so vast and so wide. It's hard to say, okay, we're in the fifth dimension, or okay, these are only fifth dimensional tools. It's taking us quite some time to really anchor the new realities. But, and I also think that there's a commonality here that the group keeps bringing up all the time. They talk about the old stuff, and I may get this backwards, I don't know, but they talk about the story about the Shakti and the Shiva, and the Shakti had to come in and destroy everything so that the Shiva could rebuild it, and
Yes.
that is exactly kind of where we're at right now. So in some ways it's very scary times, and in other ways it's very exciting because
Yeah.
we do get to rebuild. And that is exactly what we've been doing on the park bench.
See, the nature of consciousness, the nature of the creator, the nature of all that is growth, is
Right.
creation. And sometimes you get to a place where you've created it. I mean, think about, you want to have a great party and you plan it and you get all the pieces and then you have the party and then the party ends. The party, everybody doesn't forget the party. It was a great adventure that led to new engagement, new thought, new communication, new possibilities. And that's literally where we are right now.
Right.
And so it's easy to put your attention on good and bad and right and wrong. And those that are disrupted, those that have still hold on to the duality and the power over and the domination and the greed, that can't continue. And so as that begins to fall apart, those that are struggling for status quo are getting louder and getting more uncomfortable trying to
Right.
hold on to something that's falling through their fingers.
Right.
And one of the things that did happen between 2020 and now is an aspect of light that we just labeled a new octave. Just an octave, one leap up. It
I
was a
love
jump
that. I love
over.
that analogy. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yep. And the octave is simply about joy and ease and well-being and lightness and buoyancy. And when you put your attention in there, one of the things that happens with this octave when you pay attention is you get really happy and then you fall out. You give attention to politics or something else. But the interesting part is this octave is very sticky. And so when you fall out, you don't forget where you were, which is what we've done all through the past years. We can't hold on to well-being in the past, 70 years, but now it gets sticky. And it's like, I don't need to fight, argue, and push against. I can simply go back to being happy where I was a minute ago.
That's beautiful. And the more that people experience it, the more that they start to bring that into their world, even as they go back into their 3D world and try to function and do everything that they've been doing.
Yeah. And there's an interesting part to this is you are forgetting. Now, some people will hear that as like, oh, I have to hold on to, I can't forget. No, you want to forget that moment where the teacher said you weren't smart. You want to forget where
Yeah,
you were blamed.
exactly.
You want to forget where you felt guilty. And what's happening in this octave and this stickiness, all of those things have no value to your well-being and who you really are. And so you are beginning to have this loosening up in the light. It's like the shadows all of a sudden go away and you go, oh, that wasn't such a big deal after all.
Right.
And you walk away and you forget. And so you're beginning to be drawn more into this light and you're beginning to need to push against the dark.
That's interesting. Yeah, they gave a interesting analogy of basically where we're at right now. They basically said that we had to go through the first dimension being unity, where everything's together, what we would call God. The second dimension, we had to gain duality. We had to be imprinted with duality. We picked up an ego. We picked up certain things that allowed us to
Yeah.
exist in this third dimension, which we've been in for a long time. Now we're going through the fourth dimension. We're trying to get new imprints, but we have to let go. Like you said, you have to let go of some of those old imprints that don't actually exist in the fifth dimension. But we keep, we're creator beings. We keep creating the third dimension inside the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating stuff. I love the way that they're starting to explain exactly where we are. And they're very excited about it. The group's very excited about where we
Yeah.
are as with everything. They did
Yeah.
also mention about the feminine energy, which they've been talking about for some time, the feminine energy rising, and I do believe we're seeing a reaction to that. And again, I hesitate to bring this up in that way because it is duality. It's one over the other, and really it's a blend that's going to work. But we're also seeing a reaction to it. As the feminine starts to move in, the masculine grabs hold, doesn't want to let go. So we're seeing a pretty good reaction with that as well.
Yeah, a component of masculine and feminine is instead of trying to define it in our 3D words of male bodies, female bodies,
Right.
or, men are from Mars, women are from Venus psychology. It's really a flow and a structure. And the masculine energy is the structure. And the first element is always feminine. It's the
Right.
feminine says, "Oh, I have an idea," and the masculine says, "I can build that birdhouse. I can make this happen. I can paint it. I can make it beautiful." So the flow is always this movement that allows this rigidity of the structure that was to begin to be repainted or repaired or
True.
reassembled or expanded. It's a space where it's growth, it's not either or. And
That's true.
your
No.
comment about third dimension into fourth, what we're doing is we're trying to take something that's beginning to be new and fit it back into the old box. And
Yeah,
it's the old box is falling apart and
that's right.
presenting new. And so it's a space where all of a sudden it's as if the bush that always creates the red flower this year produced a yellow flower. The bush didn't change.
Right.
It just added to what was possible in the first place that we hadn't seen in the last third dimensional experience that we were
Right.
playing.
They gave an analogy of harmony being feminine, masculine being forceful. We need both to be really clear. There's no way we can do without the force or the energetics of the masculine energy.
Sure.
But to make more room for the feminine is really, I think, what's happening on planet Earth right now.
Yeah, I don't know whether the word forceful for me would be the right word, because when you look at structure and you look at masculine,
Right.
words like certain, focus, precision, capable, seniority, all have structure. Whereas beauty and gratitude and graciousness have this elegant flow to it. And so that stability is the space which that structure allows for more flow and more opportunity to present. And one is not good or bad.
No, that's
They
that's
both
exactly right.
are,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly right. We have to balance that within ourselves, which is the difficult part. Uh, being brought up in a typical third dimensional world, we're taught to be good little boys, good little girls, and follow these rules. And this is exactly where you're going to be good, and this is where you can be bad, and the whole duality of it.
yeah.
All of that is starting to
But
change.
you did a nice job in the park bench yesterday where you started talking about allowing.
Yeah,
Allowing. Allowing is simply, I don't need to argue with, push against, force, put it back into its box, keep it trapped. It's simply, you don't cut the yellow flower off the bush because it's yellow instead of red. You kind of find fascination and allow.
enjoy it.
And
Yeah,
that's where we're going, where we're going to find that we've been holding on so tight to what we are not that it's a true breath of fresh air as soon as you go, you mean I can let go of this? You mean I don't have
right.
to be not okay? And the answer is yes, you don't need to be not okay.
These new imprints are coming in very fast now. We're all trying to anchor. Some of these have been around for a long time, and yet we haven't really integrated a lot of the new material that's starting to come in.
Yes.
Some of the newer stuff is really fascinating and really beautiful. We're seeing all sorts of fun little aspects of that we're working with on a regular basis now to try and again try to anchor into the higher realm of this higher aspect of things.
Yeah. And it's important for everybody who's listening to this to consider you are big, you are significant, you are important, and you are on the cutting edge of this. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh no, I'm not important," and oh, I don't understand all this, and I'm just waking up, and so I don't really have any place to be. Yes, you're waking up right on time.
Exactly.
And you are on the cutting edge of this, and you are about to let go of that I'm not okay, I don't deserve, and be amazed at what you find, and then realize that joy, that happy, that smile that you have just found radiates to the person next to you, and they simply say, I want what you got. And
Exactly.
in your word, magical. You know, you use that word all the time, rightfully
Yeah.
so. And it's this magical smile that begins to appear on people's face.
That's interesting. The new entity in the group is Zandria, and that's all she's been talking about is this smile. And
Yeah.
it's easy for me to channel this and do it, but then when I start to use it, it's a fascinating experience. I found myself using the things that she was talking about walking through the airports. As you know, I'm
Yes.
flying a
Yeah.
lot these days, and the reality is when people walk through the airport, they're going somewhere. They got this grin on their face, or they've got this, this determination look on their face. They're trying to get through all the stuff. And she has me smiling. And it's the strangest thing. People turn around, they comment on my hat, or they comment on something with me.
Yeah.
I'm starting to realize that you can actually, in public, you can create your world with a smile, which is exactly what her messages have been all about here recently.
Yeah, and one of the fascinating parts of this is, see, in that third dimension, we get so caught up in one of the conditions, and that's linear time. And linear time is only one of five aspects of present time. It presents differently. Linear time is not a rigid, this is a fact.
Correct.
Linear time is an application of creation. And so your smile in the airport is something where all of a sudden you begin to manipulate time. Even though you're 10 minutes late for your plane, you arrive right on time.
Or they
And
open the door
people
for you afterwards, which has happened to me several times.
Yeah, and people get so amazed, and yet if you just
Yeah.
pause and realize you just rearrange that moment of present time to present it on your terms rather than the terms of the linear structure of past, present, future, and
Well,
then you die.
and that has been one of the things that I personally have had difficulty grasping, even in the group's messages.
Hmm.
They talk about time being an illusion, that we have created the past and the future in order to give ourselves a place in this now moment. But of past, present, and future, only one of them's real, and that's this moment at this second.
Yeah.
And,
And see,
and
in
that's
this
hard,
moment, in this second, you have choice.
right?
And in that choice, this is where people get really stuck in the past. I mean, the message is, well, the past is the past, you can't change it. That is not true.
That's right. That's exactly
And
right.
the moment you ask the question, well, what is the past? You realize the past is made up of two things. One is the event. My example all the time is at 5 years old, I saw a candy bar. I reached over at 5 years old, grabbed it, I ate it. But that's not what the store owner, my mother said. They said, you're stealing, you're guilty, you're bad, you should be ashamed. And so you carry that emotion with you and you hold it in your past.
Right.
So the event, did I grab the candy bar? Absolutely. Was I stealing it? Not really, but that didn't matter. But right now, do I have to have my mother's guilt in my
Well,
space
that's
of a
it.
5-year-old event? And when you realize that the emotion that you're holding is in present time, emotion can only be in present time. And if you realize, do I need to be guilty about a 5-year-old event? Now you begin to unravel the past. And the answer is no, and the past falls away, and you don't remember you ever even had that event. That's what I was speaking about a moment ago.
I've been reading some stuff on the brain itself. The brain has different memories at different points in your life. If you're 5 years old, you have one memory with it. As you become 15 years old, that memory changes. The physiology in your brain changes, which is
Yes.
absolutely fascinating because it really. And the other part about this is recently with the James Webb Telescope, many
Yeah.
astrophysicists are starting to agree with it. They're starting to say, we think time's an illusion,
Yes.
and they're starting to see things in a totally different way. So
Yes.
this is a great time to be alive. That's
Oh,
the
it's an
reality of it.
amazing time. Because the really piece here is you're shedding all of the illusion
Right?
and you are remembering who you are.
Yeah.
Now, that's amazing in itself. And as you start to play in this and you start to evolve in this, it's as if the shadows go away and you look around and go, whoa, where did all this come from? And it's been there all along just to be found.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. It's a very exciting time. What's next from your perspective?
Well, I think it's all exactly this is just an ongoing evolution, but this sense of this octave, and it's not unique to mastering alchemy, it's just simply this sense of joy, well-being, buoyancy, this ability to, one of the key pieces right now, I guess to answer the question, is step back and pause. See, we're so much leaning into what's coming. What does it mean? Elections are bad. This is bad. Climate warming is bad. Take a breath, step back, take another breath, observe,
Right.
and then choose what it is that you wish to experience. And you're going to realize or experience that so much of what you were just giving attention to in fear and concern isn't in your focus anymore. It's happening, it's over there. There is politics over there. There is climate change over there. But right here where I am, I'm fine.
This now
That doesn't
moment.
mean you don't care about
That's right.
all those things. It's just simply when I'm fine, I begin to be that joy. And when I'm that joy, that level of light begins to radiate. And people say, I want what you got.
Right. Right.
And life
Yeah.
begins to change.
That's one of the things the group has been talking about, and particularly this new entity, Zandria, has been talking about. Basically, she said, let's see if I get it exactly right. She's saying if you're unhappy with anything, it basically means that you have attached yourself to something in the future or something in the past.
Yes.
And if those are illusions, how do you rewrite that? Which, of course, is a lot of what the work we've been doing here with many of the modalities that we've released and everything else. How do we release ourselves to be in this now moment, the highest potential? Now, that's a little bit confusing to many people because it would indicate that we never have to plan for the future, or we never have to aim ourselves in a right direction or build something. But all of that happens in this now moment.
Yes.
You
See,
know,
there's a disconnect too. We've been taught that in order to be okay, I need their approval.
yes,
Whoever that they are, I need to get the degree, I need to have get them the trophy husband, wife, the 2.3 kids, the white picket fence. I've got to fit in and they will like me.
and the teachers growing up, you bet.
But the piece that is in error about that, incorrect about that, is in fact what you put your attention on is drawn to you. It's when you get
Right.
quiet, present in the moment, and let go of all the things that you don't even have anything to do with in your past anymore, and you begin to imagine. When you begin to, and everybody knows this, it has happened to you somewhere in your life, when you begin to say, this is what I want. I would like it to be this way. I'm in present time and I'm drawing to me the creation that I desire to experience in my next present time moment. That's one step in front of me. It's so
Yes.
simple, and yet we argue with it, but it's simply everything comes to you. You don't have to go to or prove yourself to somebody else.
No, it's the law of attraction. Absolutely. You
Absolutely.
magnetize things that are there, and you bring to you things that are like you in many ways. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
but what I watch in for all these years that you and I both been doing this is people say, yes, but. Oh, I heard you, law of attraction, but you don't understand. And I would like that, but my experience is, and all that is happening is here I wish to have this beauty, this excitement, but you don't understand my condition that I just brought my
Condition,
attention
exactly.
back to and said, give me more of the same.
Attachment to the past or the future, something that some
Exactly.
belief system that we're carrying forward, and holds us back in some ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely magical. Yes, that's exactly true. And in your system, you have a whole system for people to go through with mastering alchemy. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mastering alchemy came, my experience with Metatron, which I never knew a name attached to my lifetime experience of conversation in my head, became Metatron. And at one point, a long time ago now, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, Metatron said there's a path that's never been walked before. And it's all about your ascension. It's all about raising the elevation of the earth back to its 12th dimensional Christ consciousness. And it's about holding the door open for all in the third dimension to leave the third dimension. And then there was a pause, and then he said, "Do you want to play?" And you don't go, "Well, let me think about it. I'll get back to you."
I'll get back to
And
you next week, right?
and out of it has been this massive amount of week by week kind of lectures and coursework that says this is how you unravel your not your illusion of third dimension. And this is how you begin to play in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th chakras. This is how you begin to put the mental, emotional body back together, because it was never meant to be two bodies.
True. That's
And
true.
on and on and on. Here's how you turn on all those psychic spiritual abilities to have them function as awareness and knowledge. And it's been a remarkable journey.
We've been doing things a little bit differently. We've been actually working with many excuse me, many of the pieces of that. Well, right now we're doing a pineal gland activation to tune
Yes.
to basically, which is what the group considers an antenna, to widen that antenna, kind of like we can only see certain colors. Electromagnetic spectrum is this wide, but we can only see visible light in this small area.
Yes.
Because we've been tuned to that area. Now we're starting to open a lot of that up. And it's
Yes.
very exciting and also very scary, because it's not, the brain doesn't always have a place for it. We have to
Yeah.
experience it on a regular basis, which is one of the fun things we've been doing with the Parkbench project.
Yes.
I really
See, it's
enjoyed.
exciting, and that word allowing comes back to the surface again, because what you start to see is unfamiliar.
Right.
It's not good or bad. It's simply it's like seeing a new tree that's growing upside down, and it's like, well, wait, this makes no sense until it makes sense. And so that patience and allowing and curiosity and possibility and opportunity all begin to play here in ways that do not play out in third dimension. You get to that but a lot easier than you get to and.
Right.
And so this is a space where stepping back and kind of saying to yourself, wow, this is interesting, without labeling it, without pushing against, and without falling back into 3D.
Without putting those third dimensional labels on it, and the good and the bad and the up and down, right, wrong, all the other parts of the illusion. That's exactly right. Magical. And the whole thing is opening up to a love experience, which is interesting because you don't see that in our news right now.
No.
But it really is. We're going to be able to express love in so many new ways, and that's the one key that they keep showing me is don't get discouraged. We've got, and they give this wonderful illusion of the mud puddle. You're going to walk through some mud puddles. The secret to walking through a mud puddle is don't stop. Just keep moving,
Sure, exactly.
Real simple stuff. So absolutely.
Yeah, and I think this definition or non-definition of love is going to kind of morph into an understanding. It really is, love is the body of the creator. Love is kind of like that magical, people refer to it the void, but let's call it a still lake. And the creator said, I want to see this light frequency signature called Steve Rother. And out of the lake pops up the Steve Rother, one with the creator. There is no separation.
Right.
And kind of in that space, we begin to realize that the body, the creation, the tangibility of the Steve Rother, of the lake, is love. There's nothing but love. And that's going to begin to be a new definition for people, that I'm one as the creator being presented in a new signature, that the creator basically says, and Metatron and the others said, that you're a creation to reflect back to the creator what the creator is. That's your job.
That's exactly it. That was even said in the Bible.
Yeah.
Christ said many times, "You can do this and more." When
Yes.
he performed a miracle, somebody said, "How do you do that?" Well, he basically tried to remind us that we are creator beings, and
Yes.
we wear such a thick veil. We've left so many memories in that veil as we came through here that it's difficult for us to grasp that whole process. But as we do, we have to balance the ego. We have to find ways of balancing the ego so that we have, most of our people need the opposite of what the norm is, and that's to bring the ego up to where we can actually be confident enough in who we are to bring to the table what we brought.
Yeah.
Be able to speak our truth, be able to share the information and things that are going on with us in so many ways. Uh, but it's a fascinating point to be here right now, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
There's another word here that people miss, that get confused about, and that word is permission. You see, permission is not something that's given to you.
Right.
It doesn't allow you, I give you permission, or I don't give you permission. Permission is yours. You have permission to experience, to create, to go about without guilt, without blame. You have permission. And if somebody would again go to that pause, step back, take a breath, and realize I'm the creator being and I have permission. And there's a big shift that I watch in people when they realize I have permission.
It's a fascinating point to look at. The whole permission part is, you're exactly right. It's something we take. We have to basically claim our permission. We're given permission by the universe. The universe wants us to be the highest aspect that we can be and gives us everything we need for it. But many
Yeah,
times
yeah,
our own belief systems will get in the way, our ego will get in the way. Some other things will be blocking a lot of that. It's always fascinating to me to see somebody, maybe an actress, maybe a black actress who's recounting how they got started, and they say, well, I saw such and such come on 20 years ago, and she was the first, and she gave me permission to be who I wanted to be. So sometimes we've used these role models, we've seen these
yeah,
in different ways, but the reality is it's all in us. We,
yeah,
we have that available to us if we allow ourselves to open up and give that permission to ourselves and act on it, which is
yeah, yeah.
which is really what
And
it's
there's that
about.
word allow comes up
Allow,
again.
exactly.
Yep. And there's an aspect of this also when you recognize I can allow and I have permission, that masculine and feminine, as we talked about earlier, begins to come into your ability to take your own permission. I can be certain, I can be capable, I can have seniority. When you start feeling certain, see, certain, I say to people often, do you know what certainty is? They go, oh, yeah, I know what certainty is, rational mind. But if you say, close your eyes, take a breath, and be certain, all of a sudden, there's a whole physiological shift, and there's this stability that gets created. And are you capable? Yes. Am I senior in my space? Yes. All of a sudden, you begin to align this structure that allows that joy and beauty to be the experience.
Magical. Jim, we're going to running out of time here, but I wanted to ask you if you have any final thoughts that you'd like to bring for everybody today.
Oh, I think what we just did is the final thought.
Yeah, I was
Allow
going to say we've been
yourself
talking about some pretty
permission.
good stuff.
Yeah, it's that allow yourself and be curious and recognize right now that you're being presented with two very clear choices. Well, you're watching the politics, the war, the push, the climate change all pop up. But if you can take a breath and allow that to be a movie, just a movie. And over here, there's this beauty and well-being and elegance. It's a movie. How do you choose? And if you'll just choose and allow, that allowing is going to get stickier and stickier, and this is going to start to fall away, that noise. It's going to self-destruct itself into the most beautiful experience that you can't imagine from where we're sitting right now.
That's exactly what they're showing me. They're showing, yes, we're going to go through some change. Yes, humans do not like change, but the reality is we have to do this to step into this next vibrational level. And I do think it's going to be much easier than many people have predicted.
I completely agree.
I think we've got some wonderful stuff there. Jim Self, incredible. Thank you so much for being with us here today. That's masteringalchemy.com. You can also sign up for parkbenchproject.com. You can get notifications and everything else. And Jim and I have been doing this for a little while now, a few months, and it's been a real joy. It's been a real joy.
Yeah. Blessings. Keep being who you are, Steve. I appreciate you.
Thanks. I'll turn it back to the studio now. Thanks everybody for being here, and thank you, Jim Self. Incredible job. We're going to step in this together. Espavo, everybody. Thank you for taking your power.